Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little bit of a book haul for you because it's time for my quarterly haul and owned TBR check-in. I don't have a fancier name for that. But the start of the year, I started with 349 books on my owned TBR, and we ended this quarter with 353. So I did not succeed in bringing that number down. It ultimately kind of fell apart at the end due to a last-minute thrift shop trip where I found a few books I was interested in, but we didn't go up too much, and I have already read several of the books in this stack, so I do have some progress on my reading 60% of the books that come into my library goal. So you win some, you lose some, you know? And let's just dive in, because we have 15 books to talk about. So the first book we have to talk about is Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. This is a sci-fi where the main character is an AI on a ship, and I think there's also like classic movie monsters involved. The AI starts to believe that Dracula is killing the humans on its ship, and it doesn't want him to be doing that, so it like forms a little team of its own to try and stop him. And I just have heard really great things, and it sounds super fun, so I want to give this one a try. And I'm hopeful that I'll love it as much as so many other people seem to be loving it. Then I also picked up The Works of Vermin by Hiram Ennis. This is the second book from this author, I think, and I have read part of Leech and was really enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet, but this author does some really interesting, like, weird fantasy stuff, and it sounds like that's going to be the case here too. This is about a guy named Guy who lives in a weird city in a tree, and he is an exterminator, so he's, like, fighting some sort of, like, giant bugs, and that just sounds like a weird good time, and I wanted to give this one a try as well. After that, I got Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, and I have already read this one. I absolutely love this. I think it's a great entry in T. Kingfisher's backlist. I had not read any of her fantasy prior to this one, so this was also kind of me diving into that side of her work, and I really enjoyed this. We follow Anja, who is a healer who specializes in poisons, who is called to, like, help save the daughter of the king, and there's more going on than initially meets the eye, and it goes in some interesting directions with the fantasy side of the story. There's also a romance in here I really liked, and I just had a really fun time with it. I'm excited to read more T. Kingfisher fantasy. Then I picked up Navila by Paolo Bacigalupi. I don't know much about the plot of this one, but I know it's about this guy who is the kind of current heir of a powerful ruling family in a fantasy Venice city-state called Navila, and he finds himself increasingly drawn to an heirloom that his father keeps on his desk that's like a dragon eye, and somehow gets pulled into like the court intrigue of the city. So I think that sounds like it's going to be really interesting and really tense, and it sounds like it's quite different from a lot of other books I've read, so I'm excited to see what this one's like. After that, I picked up my very own copies of the Fate's Thread series by Sophie Kim. This is The God and the Gumiho and The God and the Guishin, and I love these. They're just, like, good fun. They're just fun urban fantasy romance. I love the characters in this. I like that the relationships in this one and this one are very different, despite one of the people involved being the same. And I felt like the author just did such a good job of selling me on the character relationships in this. She did a great job of writing some really meaningful friendships as well. And they're great fun. And I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil the ending of this one that leads to this one. But I highly, highly recommend them if you're looking for, like, fun urban fantasy romance. These are just great. And I love them, and they're just exactly what I wanted when I picked them up. The next book is trying to leap out of its dust jacket and into the floor, which is classic behavior for it, because I picked up a romance I actually hate, which is Gothicana. I've been joking this is in containment on my shelves, but I actually bought this copy secondhand because I wanted to reread it. It's a book that, after I read it, I think in 2024, I've referenced it a lot amongst my friend group. This is something I picked up for our Cursed Book Club. I talked about it a lot, using it as like a counterpoint to explain what I was liking or disliking in a different book. And so I really wanted to get my own copy, and I have since reread it so that I could annotate it and really have more fully formed opinions. So I think this book is terrible, but I wanted my own copy so that I can come back to it when I'm trying to, like, use it as a counterpoint to something else. And then I picked up a book I'm very excited for and also very nervous for, which is Secrets of the First School by T.L. Huchu. This is the final book in the Edinburgh Nights series. This is also urban fantasy, but it's sort of like alternate history, post-apocalyptic urban fantasy. And so the world is really interesting. It's like our world, but kind of not, and also there's magic. And I just really enjoy our main character here, Ropa. I'm excited to see what this last book is going to be like, because the fourth book leaves off in a very weird and very stressful place. So I'm curious to see how the series is going to wrap up from there, and how Ropa's going to get out of the situation that she finds herself in this one. So excited, but also nervous, because I know it's probably going to make me sad. think the same day I picked up Secrets of the First School, I also picked up Strange Buildings by Yuketsu. This is a like horror mystery thing that is a follow-up to Strange Houses. I really enjoyed Strange Pictures from this author. I liked Strange Houses, although I didn't like it quite as much. And it looks like maybe some of the issues I had with Strange Houses are fixed in this one. So I'm excited to dive in because I really like the way that Yuketsu uses mixed media to tell a like mystery horror story. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Then I've got River of Bones by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is one that I pre-ordered because this contains a novella set in the Sixth World universe, and I really love those books. It's Trail of Lightning and Storm of Locusts. It's an unfinished series, and I'm sad that it's not finished, but I just love those characters and that world so much, and I'm excited to get a little bit more Sixth World content in here. I have heard that this kind of helps wrap up some of the loose ends with the relationship in that series, so I'm excited to see what that's like. And then I also just haven't read a lot of short stories lately, so I'm excited to give some of Rebecca Roanhorse's short stories a try because I've really enjoyed her other work. Then we got another pre-order, which is Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. I read an arc of this and loved it. It is very creepy, made me nauseous, parentheses, positive, parentheses, affectionate, parentheses. You should read this, but not if you don't like bugs, because it's full of bug-related body horror that is very disturbing. So, you know, pick up at your own risk, but I really, really enjoyed this one. And then finally we get to the thrift store acquisitions that screwed me up on my downward trajectory that I had my TBR on, because my partner and I went to a local thrift shop that has a really big book section, and I managed to find a few things that just intrigued me. The first one, the silliest one, is Love Bites by Lindsay Sands, which is, I know is some sort of like paranormal romance. This is a book I think is going to be a Cursed Book Club pick because it sounds very silly. The villain in this is named Pudge, and that's just incredible. But the reason this came home with me, besides the fact that I thought it'd be good for Cursed Book Club, is that this little bat just tickles me. It says, "It'll get you." And he's perfect. I needed this on my shelves. It's too funny. And then I also managed to find a copy of Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. And I just want to point out there that I paid 99 cents for this. And it is a signed copy. So I know that this received a lot of mixed reviews when it came out. It was what kind of initially stopped me from picking it up. But for 99 cents, I want to give it a try. I think it sounds like a really interesting premise about these people who like meet every night in a graveyard and then notice something amiss in that graveyard and start kind of, you know, each kind of figuring out what's going on. I'm intrigued enough to try it for 99 cents is what I'm saying. And then I also got The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, and this is another just fantasy that I think sounds like a fun time. I've heard there's a really good animal companion in this series, so again, for 99 cents, I'm gonna give it a try. Why not? And then finally, I got On Writing by Stephen King, which is one of my boss's favorite books. She has talked at length about her appreciation for Stephen King's perspective in this book, and so I've been wanting to read it so that I can actually discuss it with her, because we occasionally will chat books, and the ends of our one-on-ones, we meet like at the very tail end of the week anyway. But yeah, I've been wanting to read this for a while now, and I just lucked upon finding a copy that was in good condition, so that was very exciting. So yeah, those are all the books that I acquired in the last 3 months. I've read 5 of them. I don't know if I pointed out all 5 of them. These 3, this one, and this one. So 5 out of the 15, which means I've read about a third of the books that I brought into my library, which is some good progress towards hitting that 60% goal, and I don't anticipate bringing a lot of books in the next 3 months. So fingers crossed that's true, and I continue back on that downward trajectory, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you consider giving a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. Also, definitely let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts on them were. And yeah, that's it. I hope to see you in the next video.